Welcome back to our discussion of HTML and CSS. This time we're going to discuss commonly used units. We've used them, but we haven't really talked about them. So commonly used units. A percentage. It's a size relative to the parent element, expressed as a percentage. A pixel, px. An exact size in terms of screen pixels. em. A size relative to the single letter, an m of the parent element. A rem, an em, but relative to the root element. We'll look at some examples next. So I've taken this example from our earlier example of the alternative box model. Here I just have three alternative box models, but they're using different units, and you can see their appearance on the screen is different. So let's go over the first one. This is I use the alternative box model in pixels. So here we see the box model here, the class picked out here, where the pixels are exactly called out. And then the next example, the box EM, this says all the units are now expressed in EM, and this is relevant to the parent container. So let's take a look at the parent container. So the parent container, which is body in this case, the font size is set to 200%. So these could be essentially double the default size of the page. Let's look at that setting. So open up a new tab, and here, go to here, Settings, scroll down, and look for font size, Customize fonts. So right now, most browsers are set at 16 for font size, so that's what I have here, and you can see this reflection here. I'll go up to 24 here, and you can see my browser instantly reacts with larger font size. And we see here, this doesn't change at all because it's been expressed in pixels, so it's not responsive to the user settings. This is considered the downside to using pixel calculations. You're not responsible to how the user has set up their browser, has customized the browser. It's easier from a design perspective to express in pixels, especially since a lot of image editing tools such as Photoshop have their base unit expressed in pixels. So from Photoshop's a widely used tool, other image editors. Pixels, very convenient unit coming from those editors. You're incorporating a lot of imagery into your web page. Pixels become very convenient for you to use. But again, the downside, not responsive to user settings because you're calling out in the CSS here the exact pixel size. Here, with the body essentially set at 200%, so 48 pixels in this case, and then this is relative to that one letter size, then it increases in size and is responsive to the user settings. Next, we'll look at the relative font size. Okay. So here's relative, and here I'm going to put the pixel settings back to 16 in the browser. So returning back to 16 pixels, I'll come back to here, and we can see that the pixel size and the rem alternative box model in rem they're identical, and that's because I've set the font size to 62.5% of the default size. So this is the root element of all the HTML on the page. More rooty than body. Remember, body is inside of HTML in terms of the in the HTML structure. So here I've set the font size to 62.5%. That's 62% because it's in the HTML element. That's 62.5% of the browser's setting. If you take 62.5% of 16, you get 10 pixels. So the box EM is essentially, if you take all of these rems, right, and multiply it by 10, you'd get all of these results here. So this is identical in pixel size to this. However, it is still responsive because this says 62.5% of the browser setting. So when I increase this, the rem also increases because it's responding in a way that's still easy to calculate because one REM is equal to 10 pixels. But yet still it's responsive to the user's browser settings. Notice the box designed in pixels stays the same, again, regardless of font size in the browser settings. So let's compare the EM measurement with the REM measurement. And most designers nowadays prefer the REM model. And that's because this is just a little hard to predict. The EM is based on the parent container. So right now, this is directly in the body, this box. But what if it was in a paragraph or in a header, buried deep within HTML elements? Then what's the parent element size? That's what this inherits in EM. Whereas the REM always inherits from the root element. It's much easier to predict and therefore, in most cases, preferred. You'll still get arguments between pixels and using REMs because of the ease of pixel development. So it really depends on what you're doing, but I think in most cases, using the REM as your unit is probably the preferred choice because it's most responsive to user settings. Thank you.